As Air explained her plan, Logan stepped back from the others. A sudden voice spoke in his head. "Come to me, Logan Thackeray. I am an Ebonhawk. I have need of you." "She's calling to me," Logan muttered. "Queen Janna is calling to me." His knees buckled, and he dropped to the floor. "No!" "Are you all right?" Ritlock asked, striding up beside him. Logan gaped at his friend. "Come on, spit it out! We've got an Elder Dragon on the way!" "Queen Janna," Logan muttered. "She's in trouble." Ritlock grasped Logan's shoulder and hoisted him to his feet. "What are you talking about?" Logan said, "She's calling to me. I have to go." "What? She needs me. We need you." "I swore an oath." "Yeah, to us." "No, to her." Ritlock's eyes blazed. "You're part of my warband. You are my brother. You can't abandon us." Logan turned away, striding towards Snaff. "Give me the hole in your pocket." The Asura genius turned from the dragon bloodstones he'd been working on and lifted his eyebrows. "Huh? Let me see that hole in your pocket thing." "This?" Snaff asked, dragging forth the coin-sized portal. "Don't let him," Ritlock began, lunging, but Logan batted the portal from Snaff's hand. It flew, tumbling through the air, and expanded into a wide circle with a slender metal edge. The ring tottered flat upon the floor, opening up the portal back to the land south of Ebonhawk. Logan stepped toward it, but Ritlock grappled him. "You're not going! Let go of me! I have to go. I'll come back." "What if you can't come back?" "I can come back. I will." "What's going on?" asked Air, approaching. "He's leaving," Ritlock said. "Leaving?" she said, gaping at the hole on the floor. "I have to defend Queen Janna." Air looked levelly at him, and her voice was stern. "You have to do what is right." "Thank you," Logan said fiercely, ripping his arms free of Ritlock and leaping through the portal. He seemed to hang for a moment above the sands, but then vanished, and the portal vanished with him. "What just happened?" shouted Ritlock, his claws swiping the air. "Why did you say that?" Air said numbly, "I wanted him to stay." Alright, it's the big one. We're going in. We're going for it, guys. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome. We are in Dungeon 5, the Citadel of Flame. COF, the Guild Wars 2 version of it. And, well, there's an awful lot to talk about. First of all, let's re-trigger this cutscene and stuff. I'll note as well, by the way, look at this fight with Logan and Ritlock. The Char are cheering and roaring and, you know, egging them on, while the humans... Actually, mind you, one of the humans is. Oh, I kind of like the idea that the humans weren't, and the Char were. That would have been a nice touch from the devs. Oh, well, never mind. Okay, so let's get in. The other thing I kind of want to say as well, just a little story about way back when I first started playing this game. I came to Ascalon with a buddy of mine, and we were leveling up, and we were here in the early days where most players had never got to these maps. So all the creatures around the world gave bonus experience. I talked about that ages ago. Enemies in Guild Wars 2 interior that haven't been killed for a long time. If you are finally the one to take them out, you get bonus XP. And so we came to Ascalon super early, working our way up through all the maps, leveling at a ridiculous rate. And we came to this dungeon, and we just had to have a peek inside. Some other players, amazingly, had finished the meta despite how empty the map was. We came inside, even though we knew it was spoilers and we hadn't got this far in the story, and completely geeked out seeing Logan and Ritlock fighting, because as far as I remember, we'd both read the second novel, and we were wondering how the game was going to get to this point, and well, here we are. Okay, so Mama, let's see what we got.
What's going on? This human thinks he can take on Gaheron Baelfire.
No, this Char thinks he can fight the Flame Legion by himself.
Fighting with you is the same as fighting solo.
And what is that supposed to mean?
Enough. Both of you gather your troops. We need everyone for this.
Glad you boys could get things settled. Let's get moving.
So, it's quite interesting, actually. that cutscene. Basically, I think Ritlock is 100% in the wrong here. He's not fully on his own. He does have his Whispers, Vigil, and Priory Explorer here. But, yeah, I kind of get the idea he should have more forces. He shouldn't just turn down forces that have been openly offered to him. And we can speak to the people and figure out a little bit more.
You need assistance?
But we want to be careful because there is a Flame Legion wave of troops ready to burst through us here. So we're going to be cautious. Ritlock says, I still can't believe Logan's here. We've got enough to worry about. What's the best way to defeat the Flame Legion, we say? He says, Gaheron Baelfire commands the Flame Legion. He needs to die. It might seem like he's really cold and indifferent to seeing us again, but, you know, we have been mailing, and I kind of like the idea that, you know, he's a char in wartime. He's very quick to get to the point. Why are you mad at Logan, we can ask? And he says he cut and run on us. He can't be trusted. And now you'll notice the dialogue, ever since the previous dungeon, where they're very explicit about what happened with Snaff, now the dialogue's changed a little bit. And our character acts like we know what's going on. You don't think he regrets his decision. Don't care. Once a coward, always a coward. And maybe it's difficult to say Ritlock's wrong there. You're probably right, or everyone deserves a second chance. You get a very similar conversation with Logan here. He says, must that damn char stick his muzzle in everything? And this line is kind of interesting because we know that Logan actually came here. You'll also note that the cutscene dialogue, the Ritlock dialogue, nor the Logan dialogue actually alludes to the fact that Logan came here. The only people in the whole game that understand that are those who are given that mail, which I've shown you on this series through a bit of trickery, but in truth, it's actually human characters alone that get to see that from Logan. So what's your plan? We need to cut off the head of the Flame Legion. That would be Gaheron Baelfire. Now, maybe this is just Logan is acting like he cares about Gaheron, but we know why he's really here. It's for Ritlock. Sounds reasonable. So what's going on between you two? I had to leave him behind once to save Queen Jenna's life, and he's never forgiven me for that. Have you tried talking with him about it? Why? He'd just shut you down. And we say you could always try to him as well. It's interesting that you actually get quite lengthy, like, decline dialogue here. Too bad he doesn't seem to understand your duty to the Queen. And it's interesting because that's basically 100% what Logan struggled with. His idea of his duty to his Queen. And, you know, his friends instead. So...
You need assistance?
Yes, I do need assistance. As we walk forward, obviously they've already wiped out this chamber full of Flame Legion, but they're going to need our help now to continue. If I go too close to that entrance, we will find a lot of enemies. I just want to quickly run over our build before we do that. We are on the Strength, Defense, Discipline combo. So Strength bumps up our damage a lot. We get peak performance whenever we use a physical, say Bull's Charge, which is what I'm running here. We up our damage. Whenever we are using a greatsword, we gain might and we up our damage. And then finally, might makes right. We get healed whenever we gain might. And this is really what is going to sustain us through this dungeon. As we're striking with a greatsword, we're healing. As we use for Great Justice and other might generation, we are healing, okay? This is really such a strong Grandmaster for solo content. So that's Strength. Discipline is all about, again, damage, but also weapon swapping really quickly and adrenaline. Damage while we're on melee weapons. Here we get banners. Our banners are stronger and regenerate us. So we get the healing from the Might Makes Right and the regeneration here. And lastly, the Axe Mastery trait, which gives us a ton of crit damage, ton of ferocity on axes, and reduces the cooldown of our axe skills. So dual-wielding axes and a greatsword. So that's Strength and Discipline. Lastly, we have Defense. And here we get more damage to people we inflict weakness on, and we put weakness on people, which reduces the damage we take, obviously. We get a bit of power based on our toughness, which isn't that great. I mean, I could maybe swap some other stuff on. Maybe Defy Pain here would be kind of good. And then lastly, if they try to knock us down or something, we automatically stand back up and give ourselves stability for a short while. So defense is about sturdiness. And then we're just going to try and rip their faces off. You'll notice this build is almost down to a T, exactly what we ran in Ascalon Catacombs. Except now, we're level 80, and we have a ton of damage on top. We're also going to come to the banners here. Now, the only banner I've shown you in this series so far is the Banner of Strength, which buffs our flat damage and our Condi damage. I'm going to run forward now, all the way to this one, the Banner of Discipline. So this is another banner that increases our damage, but instead this is through critical hits. So this is like through flat stuff, this is through critical stuff. And what I'm doing here is because we're level 80 and we're in really good gear, our chance to crit is nearing 100%. And generally speaking in the game, you're going to try and get it to 100% for most end game content. And because it's so high, that means, you know, with this banner, included, it's kind of better to go for the ferocity as far as I'm aware and understand. Anyway, so that's what we're going to do. We still get the regeneration and stuff. And obviously this buffs all of our allies' stuff as well. So yeah, let's get this banner of discipline. And I think that's it. I think that's all we care about right now. I'm pretty sure. Except food. So in our inventory, we've got a fire early powder if we really care about it. But up here you'll see I've got potions of Flame Legion Slaying. This is the max level one because we're level 80 now. 10% damage extra to Flame Legion. 10% less damage from Flame Legion. And lastly, I've got this food. This is not necessarily top tier food. But again, it's to get to me that 100% crit level. 100 precision. And 70 ferocity. So it's just all about big crits, big damage all the time. Let's see what we got. Gaheron Baelfire awaits. Woo! And here they are. Luckily for this first pool, we get a ton of allies, so it shouldn't be too bad. Fingers crossed.
They're back for more. Kill them.
Alright, so I'm going to drop my banner to heal myself and my allies. We're going to use 4 Great Justice to give ourselves Fury and Might, and we're going to use the Axe 5 to rip their faces off. So, we want to be careful of this guy, the Igniter. The Igniters are flamethrower users, and they hit really hard if they are let to free reign their flamethrowers on you. So, you want to be cautious of that. What we've done here is really quite special. By engaging very slowly, only after the dialogue pulls, we pull half of the mobs, and then there's another half over there. Most players will aggro all of them, but if you let the first wave run into you, that won't be a thing. If we had a Guild Wars 1 minimap where we could see red dots, this would be really obvious for the player base. But for Guild Wars 2 players, it's not so much, because you've really got to use your eyes to see how those patrols are going. So by splitting them in half like that, we don't really take much pressure, and now we can run in. I'm going to use my banner here as well.
Front line broke formation. First, prepare for an attack. Defend the gate.
There you go. And we even get some extra dialogue from dealing with it that way, instead of just slamming through all of them. If you aggro the second group before the front wave's dead, I think they probably overlap, or you might not hear it at all. So here's another Shaman. Now, you notice I'm using Axe. I want to be very specific about something here. You don't have to use Axe. You can run Axe... There's loads of things you could do, in truth. But another thing I really liked while practicing this is Axe Mace. And because the Mace... is really good at AoE knockdowns. So when you get multiple elites like this, and these are the ones we've got to care about, you can keep them both on the floor and get lots of interrupts. Same with Bull's Charge here. I'm using this because it's got an evade frame tied on it and it's a long knockdown. But if you run Kick, you can knock down a little bit more frequently, right? So here we're fighting 3 elites, and luckily I've got allies to take the brunt force for me. But maybe that's not the best thing in the world for later on in the dungeon, and you can equip that mace. You can even trait for it as well.
Good to see another honest face.
I happen to really like the Axel-fan, though, and I think we'll probably use it for the whole dungeon. So there you go. Brilliant. Logan and Ritlock can come forwards. Mama and co now will run back. So let's see. We're into the main hub now of the dungeon, and really the main gimmick will be unfolded at the Gallery of Rage.
Forward! Take down the Flame Legion!
Hang on. What's that up ahead?
Fools! I shall ascend to godhood and destroy you all!
So, we're getting sieged.
That lunatic wants to turn himself into a god.
Get them into safety. I'll go forward.
I'll go. You're not needed here.
You think you can handle this alone? You're the lunatic here.
Stop arguing. We need both of you to breach the inner sanctum. There must be a way in. The Flame Legion controls its gates with mystic braziers. Then they should be nearby. Let's move.
Lieutenant Marma, take your people and guard our backs. We're going in.
You heard the man. Pull back to the entrance.
We're going to need heroes to take this thing down.
All right. Okay, so, tiny little bit of trivia just before we do that. Gaheron is actually visible and there prominently throughout the dungeon, which is something I love. Mama goes back with her people. I guess the idea of why Logan says that is because we're getting sieged, and in that cutscene you see a couple of casualties from that. That's Gaheron himself hitting us, and that's something that this dungeon does well that I think the other ones fail at a little bit. The big bad at the end is haranguing you throughout. Weird thing, though, if you do come back you can press F on Mama. She looks at you, and she'll start following you again. So you can actually kind of re-recruit her, if you will. And now she'll follow us through the dungeon. You can do it with the marksman here as well. And you can keep them. So I get Logan, Ritlock, and Mama. I think the thing is, if Mama dies, that's it. She's done. Or there'll be certain moments where she won't follow us anymore. But you can kind of do that for some extra sneaky help. Maybe you guys didn't know. And indeed, in the explorable version of COF, there's some really cool hidden, like, little NPC stuff you can do as well. Including a little pet you can get to follow you around. So, yes, Gaheron is up there. I love how Ritlock just says, you're not needed here, but Logan will come, you know.
Incoming fireball!
That distinction that the book establishes, that Logan prioritizes protecting his friends while Ritlock prioritizes killing his enemies, is brilliant. And they even kind of get it a little bit here in the dialogue.
Watch out for the fireball!
So, Logan, while we're in this main chamber, we'll keep talking about the fireballs coming at us. But, oh dear, as always, things bug over the years, and things break, and things aren't intimidating anymore. So here's Gaheron. You can see him up there, trying to become a god.
Watch out for the fireball!
You see his animation, you see Logan cry, but where is it? I don't know. Maybe it's getting obstructed on some of the rocks up there or despawning or something. It never used to be like that. It used to be you were constantly getting hit. Nowadays, 2018, no matter how hard I try, guys, certain things about this game I just cannot show off in a good light because the devs don't sort of develop for it anymore. So, yeah, sorry about that. But the idea is we're getting sieged.
Fireball incoming!
And we have Logan crying about it constantly. Don't worry, I will edit it out whenever we have too much of the same dialogue rolling through. But the other cool thing about the dungeon right now is we get a choice right from the start what direction we like to go in. You know, dungeons don't all have to be linear experiences where you have to go this way, this way, this way, this way. In fact, most of the dungeon experiences before Eye of the North, so not the real dungeon feature, if you will, did have a lot of option for you in Guild Wars 1. And, well, we get to see a little bit here. So, you know, that's something that I really appreciate. Here you'll watch as I do 100 blades, by the way. We're getting red numbers every time, critting and healing up like quarter of our health just from using 100 blades there. It could be faster damage to swap off quite often, but you'll see I linger on GS just a bit to keep ourselves sustained very often. But yeah, so you get a choice. Do you want to go left? Do you want to go right? There's also the central room here as we walk forward. We want to get to Gaheron. So our ultimate goal right now is here at the Petitioner's Gate. And we want to move behind this.
Fireball incoming!
Some sort of magical gate.
It's just Flame Legion magic. They should have some braziers nearby that control it.
All right, so these two have talked about the gate. And that's the idea. We're going to go to the left to break one brazier. It will shut down half of the gate. We're going to go to the right to break down the other brazier. It will shut down the other half of the gate. So there, that was a really bad 100 blades because I face tanked a whole flamethrower. And these flamethrowers hit so hard, it's not enough healing from the might from me to actually regenerate through that. So I should really just move out of the way of those, but it's okay. We've got what we need when it's just two creatures. So yeah, you got Ritlock and Logan musing about the gate, and there's these effigies. They're all allied though, and I love what the devs are doing here. It's really kind of creepy, right? The allied effigies just kind of watch and wait, and eventually the shamans around the complex will start powering them up. It could be that you're fast enough that you never, ever, ever have to fight these. You can just run through really quickly. Or if you're lingering a bit, you're playing at a good pace, a normal pace that the devs would expect, they'll slowly, like, unfold. And it's just really creepy. I love it when games do that. They give you really dangerous, intimidating things, but they're just sort of watching you, and you know that eventually you have to fight, but the moment is not clear exactly. Right, let's deal with the left brazier. First, we've got Flame Legion turrets. We need to take these out.
Invaders, defend the armory!
And then also, we have some trash mobs before a big mob. These would be the trash mobs. You've got the elite mini-boss, Trays Incinerate. He's another flamethrower guy. So what I'm going to do is wait for him to enact the flamethrower. And then I'm going to Bulls Rush him to knock him down.
For great justice.
Then I'm going to unload my damage. And when he stands up, he hopefully won't flamethrower too quickly. This time, his flamethrower is a lot weaker because I have weakness on him. So he's doing glancing blows constantly. So that's why we take basically any damage there. That guy's scared of us, about to take the brazier down. And now we're going to take the turrets out, and we should be ready for the first encounter. Now, let's talk about difficulty of the dungeon. Believe it or not, this dungeon is probably one of the easier experiences that we're going to have for the dungeons to solo. which at this point, the other ones have been real immense challenges. I'm really happy with a bit of a breath of fresh air and a relaxation mode, because the other dungeons after this upcoming, I'm really scared of. Like, genuinely, one of them I don't even know theoretically how I'll beat right now. Like, it's that hard, some of the dungeons upcoming after this. So this is like the first kind of end-gamey dungeon, and it's actually nothing too crazy and scary. Which I really like. It actually reflects that in the explorable mode as well, where way back in 2012 at the launch of the game, a lot of players would farm this dungeon instead of any of the others, because this was the most accessible, quickest, easiest one to do. And it turns out in story mode, actually, it's a little bit more leisurely as well. So there will be interesting things to talk about, but this boss is going to be one of the hardest experiences and risk for us to die. And then the very end of the dungeon with a final boss, you might be able to guess what it is. At the end of the dungeon, there's a real risk of me instantly dying as well. But for a lot of the rest of it, we should be okay. Tyrix is just that strong. You're seeing the damage numbers. I'll cast one skill here, and by the end of it, I'll chain up to like 25,000 damage in that ability, right? These are numbers that are so much higher than you would have been seeing in other places so far in the series. And again, it's just a taste of it, because for the bulk of dungeons as a feature will go away soon. And for the bulk of the series, we'll be doing regular gear building up and stuff. So enjoy it while it lasts, guys. Anyway, here we go. Rosgar the Forge. Our job is to kill him so that we can break this Western Flame Brazier behind him so that we can knock out half of the door back there. You'll notice the room is filled with God-forged stuff. A God-forged hammer with this buff called Whirlwind Attack. This one here, which also says Whirlwind Attack. And you might wonder why it says that. Well, I'll show you in a second. And yeah, he's God-forged, guys. He's even got 2 floating ones at his side right now. The Godforged being this fanatical section of Flame Legion, high-end Flame Legion we were dealing with before. So let's get a banner down. And immediately as we run into him, you'll see that he uses Greatsword 3, exactly the same as me. Watch, he whirls in, I whirl through him to evade. If I get clipped by that too hard, it will really blow me up and hurt. The cool thing about this boss, though, is that if, once he's done with his animation, he kind of stuns himself. He slows himself down. So there, I'm going to try and dodge that one. And so if you move with him, if you bait him towards you, such as this, I'm going to dodge backwards. Now he's stunned, I'm standing on him, and I can hit him for some good damage. The other cool thing about this boss is he phases a lot. He's a warrior, as you can see. He's even using our warrior abilities. Here, if we use Tremor, by the way, we could break his break bar. I'm not going to be dealing with break bars in this dungeon. If you run like a food that inflicts chill, you can break all the break bars. If you don't break any of them. Kind of an interesting perspective there. But he's a warrior, and he weapon swaps. Look, he's like an ultimate discipline warrior, because what's happened now? He's weapon swapped to a hammer once we did 20% of his health down. And now he has hammer abilities, and he'll fight completely differently because he's got hammer abilities. And you'll notice as we swap him to hammer, all of his stuff changes. They all still say Whirlwind Attack, but now the things floating with him are hammers floating with him. And the idea is this would be lots of knockdown chaining. Interestingly, you'll notice that he's not knocking us down at all, though, really. I think what the devs realized is they designed this encounter, and it was really annoying to play in testing because of the crazy knockdowns on that phase, and they removed it, basically eliminating the whole thing. Now you'll notice he's moved to Axe, but it's not really Axe as we know it. This is actually an Elementalist Conjure Axe. It's the Conjure Fiery Axe. And he's actually bouncing projectiles around. Very Flame Legion-y. I like the idea that he's very Chari in his warriorness, but he's also got that Flame Legion elements to him. So here he's getting us low because I've stayed ages on this phase, so I'm really scared now, actually. I'm just going to bail back a second, get our shouts back, and try and phase him through. I've never actually spent very long on this phase, so to see him using these axes is kind of crazy. I'm really scared right now because I don't have a shield or anything. Oh dear, hold on. Let's pull here to LOS him. Okay, he's retargeted to Logan and Ritlock. He's stealthed now. Okay, so now he's phased again. And now he's even doing some thiefy things. He's stealthing constantly, and he's using daggers. So just a really fun fight where you see loads of different phases. I didn't realize that axe phase was so much pressure there. That's actually really kind of cool. Usually you just like, kind of burn through him because you're not talking about stuff. You just kill.
This brazier will stay lit, and you will fail.
And there you go. Down he goes. His God-forged creatures despawn. And he drops a steel chest for us with a singed ritualist bag. So the champion bags now we're getting our exotic. They're level 80 quality. Really good. We got some outside as well. I've now got 5, you know, when we were defeating the effigies to even get in here. And yeah, so there you go. One big boss of the the Citadel down. Let's take out the brazier.
Gaining adrenaline. This is the brazier powering the gate.
But the gate is still up. There must be another one we need to find.
And there we go. Down it goes. So before we leave, there is a gate here as well. This would be for explorable, though, and we won't get to see behind that unless we play that stuff. You also get a mini chest for completing the first side of the dungeon. Very cool. I'll take just a bag of coins. Our inventory's a bit full, so yeah, we'll be cautious of that. And now we want to go up the other side. So there's that long, narrow bridge. There's the effigies. I don't want to tempt fate. What I'm actually going to do is, since we've already gone in and killed a patrol that was over by that bridge, I'm going to run back up towards where we found Mama now. Where is she, by the way? Did she die? Did she run back? And I'm going to enter from this angle, where you'll see there's a lot of random creatures. The reason I'm doing this is because you don't want to accidentally aggro these in the next engagement. That would be bad. So, and you also want a free route to run out in the next engagement. So we can clear these guys while we're comfortable with it. Again, it's only 2 elites. You'll see there's another patrol back here as well. So there's just a whole load of things. I'm going to pull back here and hope that Logan and Ritlock don't aggro that next wave. Good. And by pulling back, I can pull this shaman back here as well. You see how they're patrolling off? We can deal with them when we're ready. And ready means after this thing is taken out. Okay, good. So now I'm going to run over. I'm going to throw my axe. I'm looking under the skill to see the red bar so that I know what the maximum range is. And now I'm coming back. Once I've aggroed that wave, we'll let them come through. And here, basically, we've cleared out a big threat from the boss room we wouldn't have otherwise had. So here we've got 2 Shadow Blades. They're both on me and hit me really hard. Kind of scary. 4 Great Justice again. Look at all these green numbers under us. These green numbers stacking up like this. So here I'm going to use Bull's Rush defensively to pull away. Make sure I can shake some aggro and give us more time just to regenerate. Then I'll go in afterwards. All these little green numbers remind me of convention stuff where some of the old heal skills used to stack like that. Instead of one big green number, they'd all be like lots of mini ones. So there you go. You take that out, especially one of the Ellie skills. And we can go for this. Now, you'll notice these guys are really starting to hit hard. The trash does. That's why if we'd fought both of those groups at once, it would have been a real problem. It's just there's a thing in this dungeon where you can be very precise about who you pull and when. So yeah, let's take these out. A couple of new skills as well. We've seen them stealthing. This guy, the Smoke Shaman, is blinding us. Still nothing too crazy, though.
Not a bad fight.
So, these are like more Flame Legion quarters. I think we want to take out this wave here as well. How many elites we got? A Smoke Shaman and a Stalker. Actually, there's 3 elites in here. That's a bit of a problem, but we should be okay. I'll wait for my banner to come back up, and we will take them out in the bunks. I love the idea that none of them are ready for us either. You know, we broke so much of their assault out front that we really don't have to be concerned. So there, that 100 blades wasn't great because realistically, what I want to do is cleave with it. That gives me more might, more health, and more adrenaline, which means I can quickly use the burst skill before then swapping to axe and finishing them off. If you don't cleave, you know, you got a lot more fighting to do. It's just, you know, there's like 3 angles of momentum and inertia that you miss out on. That's the actual engagement over there, which I want to be cautious of. So let's pull through here. Use our F1. Oh my god, what happened there? I did have the target on. That's kind of strange. Okay, pull through here. And yeah, what you're looking at here, guys, really is pretty close to just general sort of Guild Wars 2 warrior gameplay. You know, the weapons can change and stuff, but kind of playing an aggressive physical-based one, a lot of the time it involves these kinds of weapons. Axes, great swords, these kinds of abilities, this kind of weapon swap speeds. If you like the look of it, it's about now, is what I'm trying to say, that you can really determine what class you like the most. This is kind of what the warrior gameplay loop often feels like. You know, we're there now, really. Utilizing banners, whether it's in group content or even solo. There are other things, though, after level 80, and when we get to the expansions, that change things up a lot. And obviously, the competitive formats are very, very, very different, you know, and much more reactionary based. So we've got 3 small creatures, and we've got the boss, Bollock Firebringer. Bollock is much easier than the other one we already fought. And I'll show you why once we kill these guys. Bollock is standing on the brazier, as you can see here. Again, we're not going to break his break bar. I've opted to not deal with that at all on this dungeon. But again, it's kind of like that's the strength of engineer you should be seeing as a comparison now here that runs like shrapnel and stuff. That those break bars will just naturally and slowly always go down. Bollock.
Minion, to me, getting
Bollock will only basically threaten us with these flame walls, which he summons every now and then. And if we stand back slightly, you can see that it's actually a projectile he throws at us. If we stand back slightly every time he casts one, we can make sure that they land far away from him, and then we can just step off of them.
Protect the brazier! Feel the adrenaline!
So, they actually do a lot of damage. I don't want to play too... You see it's killed Logan. They do a lot of damage, but they're really trivial to walk out of. Just stay out of the reds, and you're clean. The main risk would be executing 100 blades.
Drive them back! Defend the brazier!
While you're actually right in it at the worst possible time, but you should just cancel the 100 blades and step out. His only other gimmick is he summons allies, but all the allies are white, weak mobs that insta-die.
You will never defeat Lord Gaheron.
So look at all these bodies here. I mean, these actually helped me kill the boss because they gave me more might for more healing to sustain myself, right? They're just little... I think these should have been a lot more dangerous, and then this fight could have matched the other one. But yeah, so there you go. You can kind of just cleave the guy down. And that's both braziers.
Refreshing.
That should have opened the gate to the central chamber.
They're not going to let us stroll through the door.
We'll just have to force our way in.
I like how they're talking. It's kind of interesting. When they first met, they were both being threatened by ogres, and that kind of forced them to bond. And here, they're talking at least. They're not talking about each other, but the task at hand, at least, they're focused. Once again, another side door here, which would be explorable in Explorable. But we're going to move on. You notice there's another wave there, actually. I didn't even know about this wave, by the way. I've never aggroed it or even paid attention to it, but there you go, apparently. They're all standing around like a table, it looks like. That's kind of cool. Right. So, the main doorway. And look, we've been threatened by these effigies the whole time. It's now open. We have a wave of mobs and the risk of the effigies spawning as we fight them.
The bridge. Burn them to ash.
Okay, fine. So what we'll do is we'll throw our great swords to aggro them. Pull back a bit. And see if maybe one or two of them goes for Logan or something instead. Gonna watch for the igniter again because he has the flamethrower. He's the biggest risk. Here we want to just stay mobile. When we see he uses his flamethrower ability, we're just going to stay mobile. Look at all the evades we're getting. We just pull back for a second, let it end, and then go through. So here, that's another one of the Shaman summoning lava fonts and stuff. Also got a good knockdown on us. There is the Shaman doing a pull on us as well. So that's one down. And now we go to this Shaman. Interrupt him in the middle of that cast. Okay, we never managed to get the interrupt on the cast. Big damage there. You'll notice that looked a lot like the fire elementals that we can summon. Triple lava fonts, but those ones expire very quickly and explode into a knockback. So you want to be cautious of that. Take this guy out here too. Logan and Ritlock have dealt with a lot of the others, so good job to them. And they will actually help, by the way, these guys. You notice I actually know the retail came from me because of defense. But they will actually help. They do things. Look here, I've got Divine Radiance. The power of the gods heals you. That's from Logan. That's like regeneration that stacks on top of regeneration. Honestly, Logan's a lot more useful in this dungeon than Ritlock is. But yeah, okay, so there you go. That's those taken out. And if we're sneaky, we can maybe get past these effigies without them spawning at all. That's pretty good. I'm not actually sure what the trigger is. They just kind of randomly do it as you linger in the area. And I like to take them out because I don't like the idea of getting locked in or trying to flee from an upcoming encounter and then you running past through these effigies. But honestly, that's not a very big risk, frankly, to be real about it. Okay. So we get to move forward. There you go. That's the first phase of the dungeon done. Now we're basically on a long trek to Gaheron himself as he stands up there just kind of watching us now. And yeah, remember, everything we did in the entrance chamber, we could have been getting sieged at the same time and you would have been dodging those. It would have been an extra little thing. So here's something really cool. We're at the Demon's Undercroft now, right? We're beyond the Petitioner's Gate. And you'll see that there is a direct bridge filled with Flame Legion. And fighting them is looking like no easy order. Tons of other Flame Legion all stacked around the central spot. Another bridge, and basically, you can work your way up to Gaheron really quickly. But Gaheron doesn't like the idea of that, let me tell you. So, we just got to run along the bridge, right, guys? Logan, Ritlock, it's narrow, it's precarious. We'll be fine. I'm sure we'll be fine.
Puny mortals, you will never ascend to face me.
No! Oh, okay.
Kala gouges eyes. He slaughters his own troops to get to us.
That means he's still vulnerable. He's afraid of us.
Because he knows he's about to die. And he's right. Pick a limb and start chopping.
Need to find another way over.
If we stand here, he'll just pelt us with fireballs. Let's see where this bridge takes us.
Okay, this bridge on the right. Wow, well, what was that? And you notice here that Logan and Ritlock aren't actually following anymore. They're, like, walking on their own. They're focusing more on themselves. It's not about me, Tyrix. And indeed, if you charge on ahead, you will leave them behind at this point. So, yeah, the bridge is destroyed. All the Flame Legion are taken out. Not just the ones on the bridge, just down, plunged into the depths below, the tarry, black, inky depths, which, again, is an explorable area you can go to. But all the ones on the bridge nearby as well, caught in the blast, shelled his own guys. That's the Flame Legion Char ruthlessness that I think we've all come to expect from them, right? And that might be how they lose the respect to the other Char.
It's close back there. Just so you know. Thanks for the save.
I didn't have time to think about it. And I'm sure you would do the same for me.
Don't get too ahead of yourself. Let's just focus on finding Gaheron for now.
And, of course, we've got this. All right, so this is a big moment here, really. Ritlock's always blamed Logan for bailing and getting multiple allies killed, really. Well, here, in a weird way, he's kind of repaid a part of the favor, right? The Eastern Transept opens up. And what does Logan say? And here you can see why we don't have to be scared of the effigies, because there's no actual fighting here. He says, I swear, Ritlock would get himself killed if I weren't around. So, did you not really think about it, or what? I mean, he's a guardian, right? He protects, he defends. This makes sense. You know Ritlock well, then. Know him. Once, we were like brothers. What about this Gaheron? This makes me think of a line from Halo 2 for some reason. What about this Gaheron? Do you think he can really become a god? There was once a human named Cormir. She ascended to godhood. Gaheron probably thinks he can do the same. He already looks pretty goddamn turbocharged Super Saiyan. I can see why the other Godforged and people believe in him. It sounds bad. How well do you know that Ritlock Brimstone guy? So listen, this idea, how is Gaheron trying to become a god? The explorable mode doesn't talk about too much, but there are artifacts and things around that really he could get a lot of power from. And the Flame Legion have found strength in that before. It's a magical, beautiful world filled with ancient history. Why not use what you can? In a lot of ways, I know it's weird to say this, the Flame Legion's a bit like the Priory, right? They're just looking to utilize these artifacts and find the lost magic and power and inherit it from somewhere else. It's just the rest of the Char believe in strength from within and ingenuity and industry. So yeah, once we were like brothers, all right then. And then over here we've got Ritlock. I still don't trust Logan. You can't rely on him. Oh, I don't know. You got your head in the sand a little bit. He did just save you pretty hardcore there, dude. He saved your life. He didn't mean to. He was just acting on impulse. Well, then he's got good impulses. What do you think about Gaheron becoming a god? The Char have no gods. Gaheron's a fool, and soon enough he'll be a dead fool. Yeah, I mean, this is great. What's the first line we really hear? One of the first lines in the opening cutscene as a Char. The Char killed their gods. They do not take kindly to what Gaheron's doing here. Okay. But he still doesn't trust Logan. It's not all over and forgiven. These two are still, you know, pretty icy. But I think we see a crack in the ice there. So, yeah, now we've got the whole dungeon ahead of us, and you can see we've got a bit of a detour we've got to go on to get beyond that bridge. Things aren't going to be as simple as we first thought. So here's the Flame Jelly encounter. It's really simple. None of these are dangerous. Or they're not veterans or elites. They actually can be dangerous and hit you quite hard. Interestingly, these jelly only spawn if Logan and Ritlock are in this corridor. So if you ran ahead of them when they were doing that dialogue before, you can skip the jelly altogether.
You haven't lost your edge, Logan. I'll give you that much.
I know.
You can skip the jelly altogether, but that, of course, means missing out on content, and that dialogue won't trigger. They'll just charge on ahead, right? So he's being nice, and I like how Logan's just like, I know. Listen, what you gotta understand is in the book, when they're meeting one another and hanging out and they're bro dudes, these guys are constantly joking back and forth, always snapping at one another in like a kind of a fun way, and we get none of that here in Guild Wars 2, because right now they hate each other. And have always hated each other, so it's a real shame. That's like the real gut wrench that I think the novel readers will get, and hopefully I can express to you guys, if not show to you guys here in the series. So head deeper into the Citadel of Flame, cross this bridge deeper, and we get our next real encounter here.
Bust up them before they get any further. For the Legion. Going for great justice.
So first some trash mobs, some shamans. Because they pack it together like that, starting on axe is pretty good. I'm also getting the greatsword cleave here, which is nice. We use our F1. Don't forget that our F1 does more damage when they're below 50% health. So you really want to stay for that as much as you can. You'll also see there, I retargeted in the middle of my rush and got a kill, which was really kind of cool. One of my monitors, I just want to be clear, one of my monitors while I'm recording today is flickering on and off, and it's super annoying and frustrating and weird. And I'm so scared that this entire video is going to, like, die and the footage isn't going to work just because it's doing that.
You shall not reach Lord Gaheron.
Hierophant Improster. So, makes me think of like Hierophant Burnt Soul and stuff from the previous game. His flavor text is summons imps. Again, a pretty basic boss, actually. Let's see what we got. He does some auto attacks. I'll summon my thing. He's got some imps. Now, these imps are, you know, they're ads that are getting summoned by the main boss, like we saw before. But these ones at least spawn a little bit away from him, so they don't all instantly die. They are nonetheless still super squishy, however. As for the rest of his stuff, he's got these kind of AoE fields and things, but I don't really think we even need to walk out of them very much. So here our food just dropped, and I'll put that back on in a second. Our food dropping means that we should go slightly under 100% crit chance, so sometimes we won't crit. But when I put my food back on, we'll be fine again. And as you can see, we can just kind of DPS this guy down, and it's really quite simple. Maybe the flame imps are supposed to be exploding and doing damage when they die, but again, it might be a mechanic that bugged over the years, or the devs got rid of because they felt like it was too frustrating, a bit like the CC phase with a hammer. Either way, it's kind of left this entire engagement a bit inept. I love the idea of these guys exploding into CCs when they die. That's actually, this fight would be exactly like one of the elite bosses from Guild Wars 1 in a place called Urgo's Warren, would you believe it? So yeah. Sweet. We get a steel chest. We get another one. Infiltrate even further into Citadel of Flames. You notice this door's the one that opened, not that one. If you want to go up there through the prisons and stuff, you kind of have to do that in another wing. Oh god, here we go. Let's take that out. Not wing, the path, I should say. Okay, so let's go on. Let's see what we've got. And now you see we're on the central pillar. This is the road that Gaheron destroyed before. And we want to be careful. We are dead. That's it. It's game over if we fall off of that bridge. So we're going to be very careful. And we'll move on up and around. Look at all the bodies. It's crazy, isn't it? I love how the devs designed this so that these bodies don't despawn, right? Because they obviously have the control to do that. They do that with that ones in the Chamber of Might at the very start of the dungeon. They do that here with these ones as well. The bodies are permanent, so you can really relish and be like, oh my god, look, he really slaughtered a lot of his own troops. If you weren't looking really closely over the cavern before. And I'll point out as well, it's really nice to be able to solo this kind of stuff in some ways, because and I always find this frustration, maybe you guys feel it too. Here, by the way, I'm really scared of movement because he could go off the edge, but the flamethrower isn't so dangerous because if you step down enough, it will actually go over your head and you don't have to worry too much. Yeah, playing this stuff co-op, people tend to just spam along and charge along and not really focus. And so you don't get to look across and see everything die. Even at launch, right, where people cared about the story and stuff, just playing with lots of people, everyone has their own pace and someone will always be pushing ahead and you don't want to feel, you got that added stress, can make it kind of, you know, tricky. All right, so let's keep going. Just some easy trash. Back over this bridge. Gaheron is really close to us right now, just up there. Again, this would be a section where we're getting sieged under the original implementation.
Acolytes, sacrificial fanatics for Gaheron. Seeing as they're ready to die, let's not keep them waiting.
So we've heard before that the Godforged would like sacrifice themselves for Gaheron and do that sort of thing. I wonder whether these acolytes are supposed to be similar. But this is a really cool fight, and I'm going to deliberately fail the mechanic just to show you guys how it works. Let's go back, get our food back on. Here we go. One more bowl of curry. So, yeah, I'm going to drop the banner. We're going to fight the Effigy. Here we go. I did say we'd fight Effigies, and here it is. So, here's the main thing with Effigies. They have auto attacks that do damage. We can heal up with our might, okay? But then they have this big charger, boom, and then they summon these firestorms. And the firestorms can really hurt and wire us down over time. I got lucky there that the projectiles didn't hit me too much. But they hurt. Now, the easiest way to deal with an Effigy for a melee character, you notice we don't have a rifle ready or anything, is this.
The acolytes are vulnerable. Dispatch them.
When you see the animation, you dodge away, and the firestorm summons on you. Yeah? And what that means is that then you can run back in. Wow, we're getting hit really hard, guys. I need to bail out. What that means... Oh, God, and he's moving towards us. There's another... You see this red ring? Basically, that means that while we're in that red ring, we're taking damage. So that's basically the very simple little thing you can do for an effigy. You just stand away from the firestorm, and then you walk back in. And it can be the tiniest little movement. Easy stuff. A really valuable skill that if you're going to be playing some of the later content in the game as well, people should learn, right? So we're watching what we're doing. And that's one of the mantras of Guild Wars 2, right? You actually watch animations, not the user interface. You watch his animation, you move away, balls charge back in, and then you start hitting him straight away. And there you go. That's it.
Acolytes are vulnerable. Dispatch them.
So here's the mechanic. You see these beams, these laser beams that the Acolytes are charging up? They heal the Effigy. Look, we got him to 50% health-ish twice now. And so here you go. I'm going to use the Greatsword 3 to move away, drop the field, and move back in. And now we can hit him again. Basically, every time this boss starts getting low, the Acolytes back there will summon a ritual to heal him up. And Ritlock will warn us about it. So what we've got to do is, while they're vulnerable doing this, charge over to them and kill them. Now, you might say, well, WP, why not just kill them anyway? So there you go. They just died. You might just say, WP, why not kill them anyway? And I'll show you. It's because they're actually invulnerable. They're hiding in this fire shield. And you can't kill them yet. This fire shield actually CCs us away, as you can see. I can walk in it a bit because of our defense straight line, but eventually they'll blow us away. So the idea is, you hurt the Effigy. You dodging away from his fire fields. The Acolytes become vulnerable to try and heal him up, and then you kill them before they can do that. So really, the main way to do this, I've faffed about a lot trying to talk to you guys and teach you how this works. The main way that you can do this is actually fight the Effigy right next to the Acolyte. So there's the animation again. You come over, and you can actually kill all 6 Acolytes all at once, because look at how squishy they are. And now that they're dead, they can't heal him anymore. I just messed up my Axe 4 in a kind of really cringy way. Now that they're all dead, we can finally take the Effigy out himself. He doesn't get stronger once he's on his own. That's about it. The last thing is, yeah, he gets the same thing that all Effigies get. Inspiring Presence. Makes other things stronger, but he doesn't have any allies to assist him. But he does burning damage to us. So we're just always taking brunt pressure. Which is why you can see I'm actually getting kind of low, even if we're dealing with the Firestorm. Luckily, building tons of might, and also sitting in a banner that gives us regen, and Logan with Divine Radiance here, we can keep ourselves healed up as long as we're avoiding the Firestorms. And yeah, we'll just grind him down. Another fight where you're seeing I do basically no break bar damage, or I could be doing ton passively, and you'd see a different kind of format here where you actually just like stun him a lot, and that is a way to sustain because you can interrupt the Firestorms, and you can interrupt the auto attacks and all those things. But yeah, we'll do it this way. Let's grind him down.
Gaheron would turn the legions into his mindless worshippers.
Then
That
he's
looks
got to
valuable.
go.
Smartest thing you've said all day.
He just saved your life, man. Stop insulting his intelligence. Jesus Christ. All right, so what do you guys have to say now? So he says, you and your friends fight well. Ritlock and I were once tight like that. You two really need to talk things through, we say. He says, I doubt he'd listen to me. Well, there's only one way to find out. Ritlock says, you and your friends fight well as well. Logan and I were, reminds me when Logan and I were friends. You two really need to talk things through? I'm not sure. He's probably too embarrassed. Yeah, he's too embarrassed. You're the better warrior. You need to take the lead. This is a great way to appeal to him as a child. Come on, you guys know what it's like. Loads of ego between two masculine macho men. No one wants to be the one to break that first straw. And I think they actually kind of show it pretty well there in the dungeon dialogue. So, this is it. We're getting to the end now. And I'm really scared because, like I said, it's really actually quite dangerous. I mean, I'm genuinely scared. Tyrix might die. This is it, okay? Alright, here we go. So, we get another waypoint. This is the Ferric Chamber. You notice a hint at some stuff over there. Who knows what mysteries and secrets that lie behind that door. We can, however, crawl our way up here. And find ourselves...
They've come for Lord Baelfire. Protect the altar.
Near the top. So, we'll kill these guys and open the gate. Shouldn't be a big problem. Here again, great example of a place where Tremor would be amazing. Here, I could have, instead of eviscerating there, I could have instantly swapped to GS and used F1 straight away, but we generate so much adrenaline when we're on those axes and whatnot anyway, it doesn't really matter. Here's the good triple cleave. Like, look at this. We just did 26k, 23k, and another thing, all just from the 100 blades there. And I know it's not like in one hit, in 1 second, in one instance, because we're rolling it up. It's kind of a deceptive skin in that way, but it's more for comparing to when we started the game.
Bad fight.
And, you know, we were only doing like 100 damage with it or whatever, a couple of 100 damage. All right, so through we go. And you get a sense of kind of the number level that this MMO's at as well, by the way. You know, we're dealing with tens of Ks, not hundreds of Ks, not 1Ks, not hundreds. We're dealing with tens of Ks. So this is where Gaheron will spawn. I just want to quickly show, though, at the very top, there is a hidden little Easter egg, almost, I feel like. This area you can only really come to in a story. It's called the Altar of Baelfire. And look at this badass, fiery, cauldron-heavy area. As we walk forwards, you'll actually find a throne. This is Gaheron's throne right here. And, you know, we can sit on it if we like. I feel like they should have put a hidden achievement here to sit on his throne. Of course, as well, novelties came to the game recently. So we can get our own, you know, little chair out maybe right here. And we can sit down. Oh, we can't. Oh, wait. Maybe we can. Yeah, we can't sit on chairs in dungeons. That's a shame. But yeah, here you go. This is his throne. I think they should have done something with that. Look at how cool that is. That should be like a high-level cultural char chair that we can sit in. Come on, ArenaNet. That would be too good. Make people spend a ton of money for it, but that's a beautiful throne to take in the open world. Honestly, someone petition for that. That would be so good. All right, okay. So, moving on through. Well, where is he? You can see on the mini-map, we've got our instruction.
The God of Flame commands you to burn!
Oh, I'm kind of scared of this. We've had too easy of a ride so far.
You cannot stop me from becoming a god. The Char have no gods. I will burn you to ash.
Okay. Now, so the boss will begin, and you'll get to see the mechanics a little bit immediately. It's a really awesome fight. Let me just be clear. If you spend long enough on this, you will see so many magical and interesting and strange little things that the developers did here that it's just phenomenal. But most players kind of don't get to see and appreciate. There's a lot to get through with him, and I love that about him as a final boss because they really seem to have put a lot of effort in. That dialogue's awesome with Ritlock there. The Char have no gods. What better thing to say? I would like to also note, before we get into this, that I did try for a long time to do a hammer build to kill him. And you can kill him with a hammer build. It's just the risk goes way up. The reason I wanted to do a hammer build is because right early on in the game, in the open world, there are some Char you guys have heard from where they're taking bets as to who will take down Gaheron. Turns out it's us, Ritlock, and Logan. And they're talking about a hammer wielder there, and I kind of want it to be a hammer wielder. I don't know. So yes, what's the situation? First of all, Gaheron cannot be crit in any way. And we've been doing a lot of crit stuff so far. So we could substitute our food. We could maybe change some of our other stuff. What I'm realistically going to do, because we don't have to do too much, is I'm going to turn off the banner of discipline, which was all about crit, and go back to the banner of strength, which was about the flat impacts of hits, right? So hopefully that's solidified and very clear in your guys' mind right now. So we're going to do that. I'm going to stay on Bull's charge as well, because I'm actually going to use this as a mobility skill. The fact we can't crit him does mean our damage goes down a lot. And you can only damage Gaheron in a few phases. So the main thing that we have to deal with is get over to him, do damage, and then we have to get away very quickly. While you're standing near him, you take immense burning damage. The flesh will melt off your bones, and Tyrix will die. We cannot go over there. There's also the fact that there's these flaming boulders coming at us. So this is awesome. Logan defending. He does so much in this dungeon. Ritlock actually does very little in this final fight. He doesn't really use his pistol. He doesn't really use the Hierophant. He's got it there, but he's not really hanging around with it. He just kind of stays here. It's Logan that's the MVP because he's stopping us dying as Gaheron fires this onslaught of stuff at us. And I know I'm being a bit unimmersive just standing here casually chatting with you guys, but basically we're safe in the bubble. Just like right at the start of the human personal story with the Earth Elemental. What was that? Remember? Go back to episode 1, guys. Standing in the bubble and Logan helps you out. There it's through boons. Here it's through destroying these. So, why will we die? If these boulders hit us, they will put us from 100 to 0. We will be in down state. We will not have time to bandage and res up, generally speaking, before another wave of boulders hits us. We are dead. This is it. The whole dungeon could be a bit more of a breeze compared to the others, but getting to this point, it's very scary. So we have to avoid these. What makes it more difficult and complicated is Gaheron's also firing these arcing fireballs, right? So you've got the boulders that roll, and you've got the fireballs. These fireballs are really deadly, and I'll show you why. They're represented by red rings on the ground. When we walk into one of the red rings, and here you go. So there's going to be one that lands here. They blow up. That's not just a knockdown or a knockback. That's a blowout. We go flying through the air backwards. Now, I use the word backwards. So they can launch us into a boulder that we already passed, right? I use the word backwards very specifically there because... Now, how can I demonstrate this? Oh, I can demonstrate this in a minute. They will launch you behind where you're facing. So I know logically you're going to think that these fireballs will always just push you back towards Logan because, like, that's the arc that they've got. But if I'm facing Logan and I get hit by a fireball, it will instead launch me towards Gaheron. And the worst thing is that as I'm facing Logan and running back down this cliff, you can't really see where the fireballs are. Look at how the red ring disappears before the fireball actually lands. So this means if I get hit by a fireball, it will immediately throw me into the boulders, and then I'm dead. So you got to avoid the red rings. The last thing about the red rings as well is you see the size of the red ring? That's wrong. The red rings are bigger than their indicator by about 20% or something. This is something the devs always used to struggle with, but they're struggling with it here. So you've really got to give them a massive wide berth. They can be evaded and they can be stabbed. So we do get less a balanced stance for like the first one that hits us, I think, maybe. But we have to be very careful. So what's the game? Well, you notice every time a boulder comes down, it shatters on the shield and we get these things, molten hearts, which is actually a name for several things in the game. We pick it up. Holding a molten heart does damage to us. Core handler. Molten heart is hot and burning my flesh off. But with regeneration and stuff from our banners, we'll generally be okay with that. I'm going to just heal up here. The other thing is you can actually break combat quite quickly as long as you don't have the molten hearts, so you can regen them back up. So we need to pick up a heart while being degened, run the gauntlet, not getting sieged, avoiding the boulders, moving left and right, coming all the way up to Gaheron. And then when you get to the Gaheron, it's really hot. You need to throw the molten heart at him and run away. Now, here's what I was demonstrating with the fireballs. I have to run back down the field now. Sorry, I didn't mean to talk to you there. And while I'm running back down the field, it could knock me back towards Gaheron and his boulders. So one way that's actually really safe to do this, and this is my main recommendation, here's the one trick, the get quick rich scheme. Just run back like this, facing the boss. Because then, if a fireball hits you, it works to your advantage. You get launched back towards your allies. You can also see where they are, and you can dodge roll comfortably, yeah? So here, for example, I'll show you. That put us to safety. It put us back into the bubble. As opposed to if I was facing this way, it would have thrown me straight into the boulders and I'd be dead right now. So, that's the idea. And now, you notice every time I throw a molten heart at Gaheron, he's getting a bit lower. So, throwing molten hearts gets you low. So, with a great sword and bull's rush as well, I can move in and out quite quickly, which is also very important. And nice about warrior here, really. You get that mobility. There, I was scared I was going to get hit. If you fall over the edge, it's not actually a defeat. It will put you in down state and respawn you. So, it's actually kind of sometimes safer to charge off the edge if you think you're going to die. Because you'll go down state and spawn all the way back there.
I still have claws.
Okay, so I messed this up really badly. So once you get enough, I thought I'd get one more molten claw. Once you get enough molten claws on him, Gaheron will get really hurt and he'll go vulnerable and he won't do anything anymore. All the mechanics will disappear and you can just pressure him. So there he just cried, "I am a god." Do as much pressure as you can, and then once he stands back up, you see you start taking a lot of damage. Then you want to flee back out. There he was screaming about the flames of Baelfire. For some reason, his dialogue doesn't appear here. And there you go. You're on to the next phase. So the idea is you wound him and he goes vulnerable and you get a very small window. Just damage. And really, it takes him a long time for his animations to start back up. So as long as you're okay with the face melting heat over there, get as much as you can. The idea is try and get him all the way to the next phase each time if you can. A bit like we saw with Tequatl, right? So, yeah, he keeps crying. Now, every time you get to a new phase, new stuff appears. Look at how cool this is, guys. It's a great fight. There's so much to talk about, right? So here, Gaheron's magma wall. And this is the only place in the game you see Gaheron's magma wall, as it looks like this. He summons barricades, so now we have to fight stuff as we go up, and the fireballs and the boulders are still coming, right? So he'll summon those at various intervals, so you want to get your timing just right. We can run over and break them. They're not very, you know, tanky. The other thing, though, is the boulders themselves will break them. So if you're quite intelligent about it and you watch very closely... So look at how many more fireballs there are coming out. If you're quite intelligent about it, here's bad, right? So we'll do this just in case, because we don't know where the fireball is. We might not have time, so you just turn around. So you can hold the magma core now and just wait for his next wave of boulders to come through. Thing is, holding the magma core degens your health, so maybe drop it. And there you go. Now, after the boulders are done, we can move through. You'll also notice that the pace of the boulders has started changing. They're starting to get staggered, so it's not just a very simple left, right, left, right. You actually got to, like this boulder here could have caught us out and, you know, got us done in. So it starts lapping up, right? Here, for example, the wall obstructs us. It's really good, isn't it? Now, with 5 people, the walls tend to break really quickly. So, oh, I never broke it. Don't forget, we do damage on dodge rolls here. So we can actually kind of do a bit of damage while we're holding the thing, but we can't really pressure while we're holding the object. Some other classes can, and it trivializes this a bit. But the way we trivialize this is through stab and mobility. Oh, that one's scary. So there's another wall. We'll break that. Probably one more core. We're trying to get him to 50% health right now. Maybe I can move through there. Yeah, that should be fine. Balls Rush, I'm kind of scared of. We can use that for mobility even while holding a core. So here, I'm going to throw this, and he's going to summon a wall and lock us towards him. But I think I've got him at 50% health, and I think it's going to trigger a burn phase. So I'm getting ready to go in and do the pressure. So let's get ready. Did it work? You got to wait a while to see if it happens. I guess it didn't. Damn. All right, so we're going to throw another Molten Heart here. That's fine, though. This next one will 100% trigger the burn. And so this is the idea. On this next one, I'm going to hit him so hard that I don't have to deal with his new mechanics that come in. All right, so you ready? Come on, Gaheron. There it is. So when you hear him cry, a temporary setback, you know that that's the moment, right? So we're going to come through. We're going to be careful not to use our mobility stuff too poorly. And then look at his health, 39%. We're trying to get all the way down to the 25% threshold, or as close as possible. So we only have to throw one boulder. His burn phase has already ended here, but I'm confident he won't have new animations for a while, so I'm going to keep hitting him. And we can survive the fire just for a little bit. And now we probably want to leave. So the flame walls are up. Boulders are going to be coming. We're going to break out. And good. There you go. So now, we probably only need to get one core. A new phase of walls. Look, he now does 2 rows. Guys, this reminds me a ton of Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped for, you know, they actually just did a remaster, which I've been playing a lot this year on the PlayStation 4, would you believe it? Where one of the bosses summons all these rings of ice spikes around him, and you got to, like, break through them and then jump on his head every now and then. So here, look, I've been wombo-comboed between 2 walls, the core denied to me, boulders can be coming, all kinds of horrible stuff. And you'll notice he summons the boulders much quicker now. So we're going to come over.
The God of Flame commands you to burn.
And hopefully that's enough. We're going to wait. This will be a wall summon here. You can see this actual animation. The guy, it is actually a real thing.
Commands you to burn.
Is he going to do it? Oh, I don't think he's doing it. I don't think he's doing it. I think I'm missing these health thresholds ever so slightly. In practice, oh god, the boulders are there. Just get me through. In practice, I was able to get these after just 1 Molten Heart. But this is why the hammer idea is great, because it cuts down, is poor, sorry. This is why the hammer idea is poor, because hammer generally is all about doing CC and stuff. Oh, no. Oh, I dodged it. I actually freaking dodged it, or it didn't hit me somehow. That was crazy. Oh, my God. That probably gives you guys an impression that they're really safe. They are not safe. If you've only got a hammer, you really can't hit him as hard up here. And then it means much longer engagement. So yeah, back to 100 blades, 20%, 19. Let's keep doing as much as we can here. Because we're not critting as well, we're denied a lot of adrenaline generation, and we're denied a lot of might generation, which also slows our damage down. You could totally change the build at this point. So there you go. So in the last phase, we get new audio and another new animation. He does double fireballs. Actually, was he always doing double fireballs? There's different wall orders. It's now these, like, across the back now, so it's a little bit more frustrating for melee builds. And he has a new breath ability. This here. So when he screeches like that, he inflicts more knockback and burning at the same time. And that's really generally quite dangerous. Because we never killed him in that last burn, we have to kill him with the Molten Hearts. He is responsible for his own downfall, guys. How great is that? So I'm going to throw my axe there. We got to get through that other wave. Oh, there you go. Oh, but that's because the boulders coming, right? Yeah. So you see the pattern of boulders has changed again. And listen, I know you guys feel like you get the gist of the fight now, but to me, because when you got 5 players, this just kind of is over in the blink of an eye. I really like to showcase what every little different boulder pattern is. I mean, I'm such a nerd and a loser really in that way, but I think it's very cool. There you go. So here you go. Oh, it's knocked down there, and it's a long knockdown. So if there's other stuff going at the same time, you could be in danger. The way I think he rotates through that animation, though, is he won't have boulders coming at you at that time. Here you go. This is the last one. Molten Heart.
Or it's drained.
I was a god, I think he was supposed to say there. But he cut himself out as he died. And down goes Gaheron Baelfire.
You fought well.
As did you.
A long time ago, I made a mistake. I left when I should have stayed. And I spent the past 5 years trying to justify it. I still feel like I did the right thing, but I'm sorry I left.
For all those years, I was so angry I wouldn't listen. I understand why you did it. I'm also sorry that you did.
Are we good then?
No. But we're better. A couple of ales might help.
You got a deal.
That was fun. Let's do it again.
Yeah, it was fun. Oh, man. I love it, guys. I really like that dialogue. Listen, this could have been very easy to be super cliche and on the nose, but I really feel like the devs were being careful about that. It's not, oh, yeah, you saved my life. Woo, we're all done and happy now. You know, there's a lot of things Logan does here. If you really look at the dialogue, even right down to the mechanics, Logan is carrying pretty hard. Logan is the one that initiates that final conversation, actually breaks the ice and brings it up and forces Rytlock to talk about it. And even at the end of it, Rytlock is still saying, no, we're not good. And I think that's a really important line. No, we're not good, but we're slightly better. Better enough maybe to fight together. Keith will be over the moon. So, yeah, I mean, really, really, really cool. Obviously, that's the dungeon complete. We get a mail here. And this is to do with the fallout of the dungeon, which we can read at a later date. Turns out this is not all of the Flame Legion. It's not like Flame Legion disappears now. There are tribunes and many other people out there seeking to find out what Gaheron was doing and take his place. So the Pact's job is not necessarily done, but that's this whole war front and story for the core storyline concluded. With the death of Gaheron there, that's it. We're done. One final chest for the dungeon. We get some gold from it, we get some coins, some blues, and what do the guys say? Well, some pretty cool stuff. Gaheron's dead, and Rytlock's willing to talk. Good to know you two are friends again. Let's not rush things. We're talking, but he's still stubborn and judgmental. And that's true. These two terms absolutely describe Rytlock. It's interesting because I'm trying to not be spoilery about what happens between these two as we go further forward, how their relationship continues to tend and go in a direction. We will see a lot of these characters, though, especially one of them we'll see a ton of, and it's interesting to see some of the facets of them and how much the devs these days touch on. But here, so Rytlock as well. We've shattered Gaheron's power, and Logan has at least apologized. 2 victories for you, I guess. Good to know you've forgiven him. Forgiven, perhaps, but not forgotten. Not yet. Let's just take this one step at a time. It's a good sign that you're at least talking now. And there's a beautiful idea of after this dungeon, and we leave these two now, we got to get back to Ore, that these two might hang out and actually have that ale and find Keith and deal with stuff. What will they do from now? Well, hopefully we'll see them together. Real unification can happen here. And so we've seen little steps so far, but right here at COF, the verse of the second half of the dungeons, this is major headway. If you really stop to theory craft it out, who doesn't like who and stuff in Destiny's Edge now, building this bridge means a lot. And we may get our elite squadron in the big fight eventually, one day on the horizon. So good job there all round. And we got through without dying as well. I'm really happy with that. So there you go, guys. That is COF. Join me next time where I will have plundered the loot from this dungeon and we will progress to the Temple of the Forgotten God back down south. Say goodbye to Aslan, guys. You will not see it again in this series unless we do some very small little bonus things. It's time to focus on the Elder Undead Dragon, Zaitan, in the last chapter, Victory or Death. See you guys there. The sun shone brightly from the white walls of Divinity's Reach and from the white robes of the Seraph. They filled the street, marching to the slow cadence of a tight-strung drums. The snares crackled and the bass boomed. It was a funeral march. Each Seraph held one end of a pallet on which lay their fallen friends. 133 Seraph had died in the Ogre Revolt. One of them was Dylan Thackeray. Logan helped carry his pallet. It was light. The hyenas had been thorough. But Logan marched beneath a heavy weight. He had returned, but they were gone. All that was left was smashed crystals. He had failed his brother, and he had failed his friends. At least he hadn't failed his queen. Even so, the mirror-bright armour he wore, the plate mail of a captain of the Seraph, weighed heavily on Logan, as did the weapon at his belt. He'd given up his warhammer to wield his fallen brother's sword. The procession turned down the main avenue between high walls. The people of Divinity's Reach lined the way. Little girls solemnly cast flowers into the lane. How quiet this parade was. At least Logan was in Divinity's Reach now. At least he could defend his queen. And maybe in this city, he would never have to fight a Char again. Legionnaire Ritlock Brimstone stood guard on the curtain wall of the Black Citadel. It was not glamorous duty, but at least he was fighting for the right side again. When first he returned to the Blood Legion, he was stripped of rank and assigned menial work. An overseer called him traitor, and Ritlock killed him. That's how he became an overseer. Later, a legionnaire called him a deserter, and Ritlock killed him as well. That's how he became a legionnaire. Let a centurion call him a friend to humans, and Ritlock would rise again. He was no longer a friend to humans, especially not to Logan Thackeray. Ritlock spit from the top of the wall and watched the gobbet fall 100 feet down before smearing. Logan, who was now Queen Jenna's lapdog. Logan, who had corrupted a dungeon full of Char. Logan, who had made a fool out of Ritlock. He'd better hope the Seraph never fight the Blood Legion.